Today is Monday, April 19th. What to know about another mass shooting in a public place, this time in Wisconsin. And new details about the gunman in the FedEx warehouse shooting. He actually had a gun taken away from him just last year. Also, why President Biden faced some backlash from his own political party. And what topic is bringing the U.S. and China together for a change. Plus, a new safety warning about a Peloton product. Which state could be first to go all in on electric vehicles? And who just made history in country music? Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, the U.S. is mourning yet another tragedy in a series of recent mass shootings. The latest happened in Kenosha County, Wisconsin. 3 men were killed and at least 3 others were seriously hurt in a shooting at a busy bar near the shore of Lake Michigan. Authorities say the suspect was a customer there on Saturday night, but employees kicked the man out for some reason. They say he left, but only to return a little later with a gun. Other than that, details are slim right now. Law enforcement officials have not named the victims, the shooter, or a possible motive. The sheriff's office did say the 3 people who died all knew each other, but it's not clear if they also knew the gunman. This investigation is still underway. Investigators are also still working to piece together a mass shooting from last week at a FedEx warehouse in Indianapolis. Meanwhile, vigils were held over the weekend for the 8 victims. All of them worked at the warehouse, and they ranged in age from 19 to 74. 4 were members of the Sikh community, but authorities haven't said whether hate or bias may have played a role in that attack. Police say the 19-year-old gunman also used to work at that warehouse, and last year his mother called law enforcement, warning them she thought her son was going to try to lure police into killing him in what's known as suicide by cop. At that point, police took his shotgun away from him, and it was never returned. Months later, authorities say he was able to buy 2 new assault rifles that he used in last week's attack. He also killed himself. His family released a statement over the weekend to apologize to the victims. It said in part, quote, "We tried to get him the help he needed." Indiana is actually one of the 19 states that has a red flag law. Under those kinds of laws, officials can take away someone's weapon and then argue to a judge that the person should be prevented from having a gun. Authorities so far have not said whether they held or even scheduled a hearing like that in this case. But while a case is pending, there's nothing that says someone can't buy another weapon. President Biden faced backlash over the weekend from some of his fellow Democrats. He signed an executive order to keep the same strict limit on how many refugees are allowed to resettle in the U.S. You may remember back in February, Biden said he wanted to let in 125,000 people who are fleeing violence, conflict, and oppression in their home countries. And that would have been a pretty big expansion of the decades-old refugee program. Last year, the U.S. opened up just 15,000 spots. Former President Trump did not want to allow as many refugees into the U.S. because he said they were not vetted properly. So fast forward to this past Friday, Biden's executive order said he was keeping it at 15,000 despite what he said 2 months ago. And that didn't sit well with some people. Biden faced immediate blowback from Democratic lawmakers and advocacy groups. So just hours after Biden signed the executive order, the White House clarified, saying it would increase the refugee cap again next month. But administration officials have not said what the new cap might be. For now, Biden is saying his team is mostly focused on the surge at the southern border. And that is different. Refugees have to be vetted while still overseas, unlike migrants who arrive at the U.S. border and then request asylum. Officials say at this point they're unable to manage both, but that they are working to rebuild the system, which takes time. Well, putting tensions aside, the U.S. and China now say they're working together on one key issue, climate change. And that's big, since the U.S. and China produce the most greenhouse gases in the world. The governments put out a joint statement over the weekend saying they'll work together to lower carbon emissions, and they'll help developing countries make the shift too. The agreement came after the Biden administration's climate envoy, John Kerry, spent 3 days in China for talks. Kerry called the talks productive, saying it was the first time China agreed climate change is a crisis. President Biden is also hosting a virtual climate change summit this week with many world leaders expected to attend, including China's President Xi. The CDC announced a new milestone over the weekend. Half of all American adults have now gotten at least 1 dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, and about a third are fully vaccinated. The states with the highest vaccination rates are New Hampshire, New Mexico, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. On the opposite end, demand has been lagging most in states like Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Overall, though, polling from the AP shows a lot more people are willing to get a vaccine now than they were just a few months ago. Remember, today was the deadline President Biden had set, asking states to open up vaccine appointments to everyone. And several more states are expanding their eligibility to all people 16 and older today. They include Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Oregon, New Jersey, and New Hampshire. All right, we have much more news still ahead, but first, thanks to our sponsor, Rothy's. If you've been listening for a while, then you've definitely heard me talk about Rothy's. If you haven't heard about this company yet, then let me tell you, I'm a big fan. I'm not only their partner, I'm a returning customer who has gone back to buy more shoes with my own money. It's because they make sure they have super stylish shoes and bags that are also sustainable. They're carefully crafted with eco-friendly materials like repurposed plastic water bottles and marine plastic. Yep, Rothy's has transformed nearly 100 million bottles into beautiful shoes, handbags, and face masks. And the other main reason I go back to Rothy's, their products are high quality and ultra comfortable. In fact, their shoes require 0 break-in period. I always wear them right out of the box and never get blisters. I've already had some listeners message me to say how much they now love their Rothy's shoes, and I always love hearing that. So check out all the amazing shoes, bags, and masks available right now at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's rothys.com, ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. Style and sustainability meet to create your new favorites. Head to rothys.com/newsworthy today. Okay, now back to the news. Washington could become the first state in the nation to phase out sales of gas-powered cars in favor of electric vehicles. Lawmakers passed a bill to ban sales of new light-duty gas-powered vehicles by 2030. California and Massachusetts have pledged to do the same thing just 5 years later. Emergency vehicles like ambulances and police cruisers would be exempt, and to be clear, used car sales are not included in this either. Governor Jay Inslee has not said whether he'll sign this bill into law, but his office has said transitioning to clean transportation sources is a top priority. Still, critics have argued that one state should not have the authority to pass a law that could influence the entire United States. In fact, there have already been legal challenges in the other states doing something similar. And even if Inslee signs the bill, it has a ways to go before becoming law. For example, lawmakers would need to still pass a road usage tax, meaning drivers would be charged a fee based on how much they drive. So, to be continued. The popular exercise equipment company Peloton is defending its products right now as it faces pressure to issue a recall. The Consumer Product Safety Commission issued a warning over the weekend, urging Americans with young children or pets at home to stop using the Tread Plus. The federal agency says dozens of children and at least one pet have been injured after getting sucked underneath the treadmill, and at least one child died. The safety bulletin adds even adults could be thrown off the treadmill if an object gets sucked underneath it while in use. Consumer Reports says the agency asked Peloton to issue a recall and to stop selling the machine, which costs more than $4,000. But Peloton insists this warning about the Tread Plus is overblown and misleading. The company says if all the safety instructions are followed, there's no reason to stop using the Tread Plus. For example, it warns customers to keep children, pets, and objects away from the machine, and it tells them to remove the safety key when they're not using it, because without that key, the treadmill cannot turn on. Still, the Safety Commission says if you must keep using it, you should keep it in a locked room where children and pets cannot access it. It looks like NASA and SpaceX will be teaming up on the next mission to send humans to the moon. NASA already has the spacecraft to launch its astronauts into space, but it needs a separate human landing system to transfer the astronauts all the way to the moon's surface. And for that, NASA just chose SpaceX and gave the company a nearly $2.9 billion contract to develop the necessary spacecraft. SpaceX has already been testing prototypes in South Texas, but in each test flight so far, the spacecraft exploded. The company says it is making several upgrades before the next test flight, though. On its official Twitter account, SpaceX said its team was humbled to, quote, help usher in a new era of human space exploration. Some of the most celebrated artists in country music came together in Nashville for the Academy of Country Music Awards. Like last year, performances were spread out between several locations around Nashville. But one notable difference, the show had a live audience. Vaccinated medical workers from Vanderbilt University Medical Center were seated in the balconies at the Opry House and the Ryman. And masked nominees were brought onto the floor of the Opry House during their category before joining the audience. Country singer Mickey Guyton made history as the first Black woman to co-host the show, and she co-hosted with another longtime country star, Keith Urban. Jimmy Allen also made history as the first Black singer to win the New Male Artist Award, and for the first time ever, all 5 songs up for Single of the Year included female nominees. Carly Pearce and Lee Brice took home that prize for their duet, I Hope You're Happy Now. Song of the Year went to Maren Morris for her hit, The Bones. As for the coveted Entertainer of the Year award, that went to Luke Bryan. And that's it for your main news today, but now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, this episode is brought to you by Ritual. And Ritual's prenatal vitamin is definitely part of my morning ritual. I take it every day without fail, and after the baby is born, I'll switch to their postnatal vitamin, and after that, I'll keep taking their women's multivitamin. I love that Ritual vitamins are scientifically developed to support different life stages. In fact, they're now available for women, men, and teens. And no matter who is taking them, we all deserve to know what we're putting in our bodies and why. And that's why I appreciate Ritual's transparent approach. They have a one-of-a-kind visible supply chain, so you always know what nutrients you're taking and where they came from. And you will not find sugars, GMOs, major allergens, synthetic fillers, or artificial colorants in any Ritual products. Plus, with Ritual, I never worry about running out. Ritual multivitamins are delivered every month with free shipping always. And you can start, snooze, or cancel your subscription anytime. If you don't love Ritual within your first month, they'll even refund your first order. So get the key nutrients with Ritual. And right now, Ritual is offering my listeners 10% off during your first 3 months. Just visit ritual.com/newsworthy to start your ritual today. That's ritual.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Money Monday. It seems Americans are feeling more comfortable opening their wallets as millions of people are vaccinated and pandemic restrictions start to ease. Federal data shows that retail spending rose by nearly 10% in March, the largest increase since May of 2020. And this time around, the most spending is not on pajamas, it's more on items they need leaving home. For example, CNBC reports that spending at clothing stores was up by double digits. The most popular items include skirts and dresses, jeans, shoes, and swimsuits. Shaving kits and sporting goods are also flying off store shelves, and champagne sales doubled compared to a year ago. The AP reports Americans are also now spending more money on cars, home renovations, and dining. Analysts predicted this spending boom would come in parts thanks to increased saving. All right, thank you so much for listening today and, of course, for making the newsworthy part of your daily routine. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.